Coach, good to catch up with you. And before we talk about what's coming up next year and the summer as well, let's just look back a little bit on a magical season for Hammond basketball. You win the state title, and not only that, on the way you beat teams that were once imagined to be unbeatable by any of the local private schools, including Hammond. Just talk a little bit about really how good this team was, and for those people out there that aren't smart enough to realize that that Hammond is talented enough, well coached enough, and just playing good enough to beat 3 and 4A teams, you might want to remind folks again what you accomplished this past year.
Well, thanks for lobbing that out there. You know, we did have a great season. We had a really difficult schedule starting out, and then finished it, and as you said, won the state title. You know, I single A, 2A, easily we could be state champs in that space. I mean, we scrimmaged Fox Creed, who's my old JV coach, beat them by 35 in a scrimmage, and they were in the finals. We lost to Keenan in overtime. Keenan rolled through 2A. I don't think anybody was within 15, 20 points. They go through the playoffs, nobody's within 15, 20 points. So that clearly documents that we could dominate 2A. You roll into 3A, you know, comments were made, well, I don't know whether you could hang in the 3A, 4A region night in, night out. That's absurd. I think clearly we were the #1 team in the state, period. We got length. We're 6'8", 6'5", 6'5", 6'4", and a kid named Seventh Wood at guard. We got 6'4", 6'5", 6'4" coming off the bench. We got athleticism. You know, we can adapt anybody's game. I think we're one of the best coach teams in the state. We run the break well. If you want to run with us, we'll run. You want to slow it down, we got set plays. We'll run set plays and score on you. You want to press us full court? Love for you to press us. We got guards, we'll blow through your press. We got changing defenses, we trap, we zone you. If you want to zone me, I've got 6, 7 guys that knock down threes. So it really didn't matter what anybody did to us. We can adapt to anybody's game because of the talent and the skill set we got. What really, I won't say upsets me or don't get respect, was in a 10, 12 day period, we played 8, 9, 10 games. I mean, 14 out of our first 15 games were against public schools, as you know. So we played Spring Valley, and of those 14, 15 games we played, all of them except one were away. We only played one home game against a public school, and that was Eau Claire. Otherwise, they're all on the road. Go to Spring Valley, billed as what? The game of the century, game of the last decade. Seventh Wood has a monster game, so does everybody else. We beat them by 27. What people don't realize is Hammond basketball has had a bullseye for the last 2 or 3 years because of Seventh Woods. So every game we play on the road, it is in a packed house, in a hostile environment, and kids have circled that game on their schedule a year in advance. So for our team to show up night in and night out, answer the bell. Chick-fil-A against Dreer at the time was #1 3A. By the way, Spring Valley was #1 4A ranked team at the time. We blow them out. Then we have to play Trinity Christian, who's a nationally ranked team in North Carolina. Dennis Smith, #1 ranked point guard versus Seventh Woods. We beat them by 12. We play Keenan. Then we got to go to upstate and play. We played 4A team Clover, we beat them. And we got to play #1 ranked Hillcrest, who ended up being in the championship, right?
Won the championship.
Well, I think
no, they were second. They're my bad.
Sumter won it.
Sumter won.
And by the way, Sumter lost to Spring Valley twice, our common opponent, but yet they're ranked #1 in the city. They did the same thing I did. We won 18 straight games in a row after Christmas. Dominated our division, blew everybody out, had some close games here or there, but we did what we were supposed to do. So, our record, I think the last 2, 3 years against public schools in South Carolina is 16-4, 16-5. So I don't know what else people want us to do. We couldn't play the harder schedule night in and night out than we played 8, 9, 10 games in a 14, 15-day schedule against all the number one ranked 3A, 4A, and 2A teams.
I think that's the key, is you weren't playing the worst of 3A and the worst of 4A and the worst of 2A.
Right.
You were playing a bunch of teams, some of which played for state championships, and certainly all of them contended for state championships. And it just, as it does you, it puzzles me why there's a certain group of people in Columbia that just seem to not want to give respect to you or the program, and it's odd, but I think it shows their stupidity. But that's another story.
Obviously, they didn't come watch us play, because if anybody came and watched us play, they would see a team that had great team chemistry, and that's one thing I'm really proud of. Our kids the last couple of years, I've been very blessed to have kids that really enjoy playing with each other. They play within our system, they play hard, they play for each other. And that's one of the great things to win the state championship this year, was just the kids are awesome, man. And practices were so hard. I mean, I didn't have to kick anybody out of practice and all the other stuff. Very businesslike, very professional. They showed up, they worked hard, and we were able to play a lot of kids in a lot of games because we had depth. Then they worked hard in practice and were rewarded with getting playing times in games. It was just a special season all the way around.
I wanted to speak to that, is that those folks that may just not know, that think that, well, oh yeah, Hammond basketball is just Seventh Woods, and that is just patently false. Because we'll talk a little bit about, you've got kids coming. Xavier, of course, has some opportunities, and then you have a 6'8", 6'9". There's not a lot of those guys around. Player coming back in Chevy Goodwin, who's already getting more interest than anybody else I know in the Columbia area, of a big man.
Yep.
Along with Jordan Bruner.
Yeah. Clearly, Chavez Goodwin was the best big man in the state this past year. You know, there's Carl Gamble at Flora was 3'8", but Chavez is, in my opinion, the best big man, period. The kid can score. And there's not many 6'8", 6'9" kids that can stretch a defense, knock down a three on you, take you off the dribble. Kid's just a huge talent. Great work ethic. Chavez is right now, matter of fact, I got a call today from UConn. They're coming Wednesday to see Chavez. So you've got Tennessee, you've got UConn, you got College of Charleston, the Woffords, the East Carolinas, the Davidsons. So he's definitely a mid-major right now. I think he could go high major. You got Xavier McDaniel, who's a young kid who doesn't turn 18 till the end of July. Xavier had a phenomenal senior year, you know, all tournament in Chick-fil-A, all tournament up in Greenville, all state again for the third year in a row. He's got an offer from Marshall right now. We've got some interest from UNC Charlotte with Mark Price, who new coach, and had some kids defect, so that may or may not work out. Xavier may go to prep school because might be his best bet to find a better Division I offer, maybe mid-major or high major, but great talent. And you got Seventh Woods, who's, you know, the North Carolinas, the South Carolinas, pretty much everybody in the ACC, SEC. Hopefully he'll come to a conclusion this summer, kind of put that away and can concentrate on his senior year. And then you've got Lucas Prickett, you've got Tommy Bruner. Both those kids are Division I players. And then you've got other, Jonathan Yuckmau, Michael Turner, Dresset Felder, just a ton of other kids who are dedicated to basketball that are D2, D3 players. So to your point, we got a lot of pieces to the puzzle. And fortunately, outside of Xavier, and we lose DeAndre Smith, we've got the whole arsenal coming back next year.
You know, and that is the reason you just spoke to the depth. Again, not to belabor this point, but to hear, talking heads out there that make the argument that, oh, well, you couldn't sustain success if you were playing a regular schedule. I mean, that's just ridiculous. And the other thing I want to say is, no offense to any program, but as you mentioned, number one, I think some of these people have never seen you play. They're just running their mouth.
Right.
But if they did, if they saw you and other teams play, I'm just going to say the second five for a lot of schools, without mentioning any, I saw everybody this past year. I don't know if anybody had a second five as good, certainly no better than your second five.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like, what teams do these folks think that are out there that are Oak Hill? You know, because there's not any. The whole thing is just is ridiculous.
Yeah, our second five coming off the bench was 6'5", 6'5", 6'3", 6'2". So to your point, and they're basketball players, which is nice.
Yeah, I saw well, there's teams out there where their second, you know, when you get past the 7th or 8th player, those guys just can't play.
Right.
I mean, they can't. But anyway, all right, let's look at, obviously everyone has had their eye on 7th for a long time, and you just alluded to that. It's been kind of common knowledge or common perception, certainly, that UNC has had lots of contact with him, very good relationship between Roy Williams and 7th. And of course, all that is true. Do you think, and I know you're not speaking for him, but just being his coach, North Carolina is certainly an opportunity that if there is any such thing as a leader in the clubhouse for 7th Woods, it would be North Carolina? Fair to say?
Certainly not for me to speak to that fact. You'd have to talk to his family a little more. They've been kind of quiet on the recruiting trail of who's leading and who's not.
Mm-hmm.
I think they've just let things unfold to this date to see where the dust lies, and I think they're really cranking it up and getting really serious right now in the next 2 to 3 months. But to your point, you know, North Carolina started recruiting him when he was 13 in the 8th grade. And they've maximized their visits every year, 7, 8 visits the last couple of years. So I would agree that Roy Williams has recruited him the hardest of all the other schools from day one. Now, other schools are on him now and opening up the recruiting trail and beating down the door, but you know, it remains to be seen where he falls.
And just one other thing, as far as style, whether or not he goes there, boy, 7th Woods seems to be a great fit for his skills as a combo guard and the way North Carolina gets out and goes.
Yeah, you know, I would think at the end of the day, if he were my son, you look for the fit first. Is the coaching style there? Is the way they play, up tempo, push the ball? He's kind of a combo guard, really. I mean, he can score. He can do both, run the point, push the break, and score. Kind of like Page. But you know, there's other programs out there that fit his style as well. You know, team chemistry. How many guards do they have when you get there? Is the school the right fit? So they've got to make those outside basketball decisions as well. But you know, he's certainly high on a lot of teams' radar, and they'd love to have him. And people, what they don't realize is he's an elite defender, and his hands and feet, when he wants to shut you down, he's going to shut you down. So he creates havoc on both ends of the floor that a lot of kids really can't do. And I think that's what may separate 7th Woods to be able to not only be successful in college, but potentially could go to the next level because of his defense as well.
And something that is just a fact, just a great kid, isn't he? I mean, he's a guy that I've never seen one time be demonstrative in a negative or even in a positive way on the basketball court. I've never seen him complain to a referee. I've never seen him do the roll of the eyes, the throwing the head up, the looking like, what did you just call? And that's pretty rare these days.
You are absolutely correct. I mean, I can't name one time in 4 years where I ran a play for somebody else or called something, or defense or offense, that he's ever complained. I've never had one time where he asked for the ball himself or complained about shots, complained about scoring. He doesn't complain, and he doesn't beat his chest, and he could be scored on, you wouldn't know it. He could dunk in your face and you wouldn't know it. So, but this year he's gotten a lot more vocal. He's talking to his teammates a lot more, and this year I think he showed more passion and emotion in a positive fashion of clapping his hands and being excited and getting into it than he ever has, which I like the positive emotion, and I think he's becoming a much more vocal leader in his own way. He'll never be the guy screaming and shouting, but he does a lot of things in practice and outside of that people don't see.
Coach, this gets me excited already for basketball season. Appreciate you taking the time, and should be a fun year next year.
Thanks. Looking forward to it too. Appreciate the opportunity.